After conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot to death, the vice president is now en route, flying Kirk's body and his family back here to Arizona. This is where he lived and where his company Turning Point USA is based. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 4. I'm Tram Mai.
And I'm Troy Hayden. Kirk's body being flown on Air Force 2. Again, right now, Vice President JD Vance on the plane with Kirk's young family. Live images here from Sky Harbor Airport. Air Force 2 took off from Salt Lake City just about a half hour ago. Obviously, we've got a very stepped up security presence and police presence there with the Vice President. He is not expected to get off of Air Force 2 and actually leave the airport. He's expected to kind of just drop off Kirk's body and his family, and then they will make their trip with the motorcade. So Air Force 2 took off from Salt Lake City just about a half an hour ago. So it's likely the plane will arrive at Sky Harbor in the next 30, maybe 45 minutes. Of course, we will be live for that.
And right now, Bianca Bono, she is live at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. And Bianca, we know it's still early. He is en route from Salt Lake City, Utah. But what can you tell us?
Well, right now we're standing on the rooftop of the Terminal 4 parking garage awaiting the arrival of Air Force 2. As you mentioned, we're told that plane took off from Utah at about 3:30, so it should be touching down here in Phoenix within the next hour. I'll step out of the way so we could zoom in towards the executive terminal as we anticipate that's where Air Force 2 will be touching down. On board, in addition to Charlie Kirk's casket, is Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, his two young children, the Vice President JD Vance, and Second Lady, Usha Vance. They will all be arriving here in Phoenix. You mentioned a security presence that has certainly been visible in and around Sky Harbor, not only at the executive terminal, but essentially all around the area of Sky Harbor. We also did see a white hearse arrive in the area of that executive terminal a couple of hours ago in anticipation of Charlie Kirk's body returning back home to Arizona. A little bit of background. Yesterday, after news of Kirk's assassination broke, Vice President Vance was very candid on social media about his relationship, which is deeply personal, with Charlie Kirk. He said that he met him back in 2017 after appearing on Tucker Carlson's show. He said he received a message from a person he didn't know at the time. That was Charlie Kirk, telling him he did a good job, and the two of them got to talking, and it turns out they shared a lot of the same conservative ideas. He was candid about the fact that both of them were a little bit skeptical of President Donald Trump starting back in 2016, but of course the two of them certainly came around. He said that Charlie Kirk was one of the first people he talked to when he was considering running for office, and he said that Charlie Kirk was one of the most influential voices to President Trump when selecting him as vice presidential running mate. He said that Charlie Kirk was supportive to him after being named the vice presidential nominee, the impact that had on his family, namely his oldest child. He said Charlie Kirk was one of the few people that was constantly checking in to see how he and his family were doing. So clearly a very deeply personal connection between the vice president and Charlie Kirk. We know the vice president was initially today supposed to be spending it at a memorial for 9/11. Instead, he is here. So again, we are waiting for Air Force 2's arrival. I will tell you that several supporters of Charlie Kirk have started arriving here on the rooftop of the parking garage. They have American flags. They're wearing shirts in Charlie Kirk's memory. We'll hopefully start talking to them as they continue to show up over the next half hour or so, but we are keeping a very close eye on the runway here, guys.
Yeah, and it shows you the regard that the Trump administration, the president and the vice president have for Charlie Kirk, that the vice president is personally bringing him back here to Arizona. And we should point out again, if we can, that Terminal 2 is, most of us when we fly to Sky Harbor, it's Terminal 3 or Terminal 4. Those are the main terminals. Terminal 2 is kind of off on its own, and it's much easier to basically secure, isn't it?
Oh, no question about it. It essentially sits on its own. And of course, on a day like today, there is absolutely no way that the general public is getting anywhere near that executive terminal. There is so much security here. Phoenix police, certainly, they are used to this type of arrival. We have, of course, watched Air Force One touch down in this terminal many, many times, but they are used to patrolling and having a security plan of this nature. It is on its own, completely separate, to your point, from Terminal 3 and Terminal 4.
Bianca, I'm wondering, after Air Force 2 arrives, and obviously JD Vance and Usha Vance We don't know if they'll still remain in the plane, but I'm wondering, after that casket is delivered, where does it go from there?
It's a good question. We know that there is a white hearse that is stationed here preparing to take it to a mortuary. We will likely be following that as well. But again, Charlie Kirk did call Phoenix and Arizona and the Valley home. So we will see what the plans are immediately after touching down. We'll also see if the Vice President comes down with the casket. There were some images that came out of Utah showing him help to carry that casket onto Air Force Two. So we will likely see him stepping off the plane once they arrive here.
All right, so if you're just joining us, we're expecting the Vice President's plane that is carrying the body of Charlie Kirk along with his family in about a half an hour to maybe 40 minutes. So Bianca Bono, you are out there. As soon as we get sight of the Vice President's plane, we are going to break in live, no commercial breaks, and we will have that entire arrival plus the moving of Charlie Kirk's body to that mortuary. So Bianca, thank you. People coming together outside the headquarters of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's nonprofit here in Phoenix.
Several memorials have been set up in honoring that political voice. 12 News journalist Sean Rice has been speaking to people there today. And Sean, what are they saying?
Yeah, Tram and Troy, I got to tell you, this has been an incredible scene out here. Droves and droves of people coming here to the Turning Point USA headquarters to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. And I got to tell you, as you mentioned, I've had a chance to speak with many of them. And one thing I've really taken away is that every person's love for Charlie Kirk has really been unique to them. Some love his political stances. Some love his ability to debate and challenge controversial political topics. And some love his deep-rooted Christian faith. I'm going to step out so you can get an idea of what this looks like here today. There are two different memorials here set up outside of the Turning Point USA headquarters in Phoenix. Dozens and dozens of flower bouquets now sit at the foot of a picture of Kirk. It's two pictures, and each of those pictures read, quote, "May Charlie be received into the merciful arms of our loving Savior." Now, Kirk, he was killed yesterday morning at an event on the campus of Utah Valley University. Law enforcement tell us they are still searching for that suspected shooter. Kirk was a mighty and important figure in Arizona politics. This is a place he's called his home for the last decade, and it's where he created this nonprofit group, Turning Point USA. Now, this morning, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, she took our questions at an unrelated event in Phoenix. There was a lot of discussion around political violence and ways to stop it. I had the chance to ask Hobbs directly, what can we do as a country to make this kind of violence a thing of the past?
How do we calm the vitriol? I think there's average Americans, everyday Americans sitting at home today wondering, what can I do to prevent something like this from happening again to a person from either side of the aisle? Is there anything, a message you would give to an average everyday Arizonan on this?
I think I've consistently said that that we don't solve problems in our democracy through violence. We solve it at the ballot box. And I can't speak for every Arizonan or American, but I know that as an elected leader, my responsibility is to do everything I can to work to tone down the rhetoric. And I think I would call on other elected leaders to do the same and set that example that Americans will follow.
And to give you an idea of who was here today, I had a chance to speak with this couple. They're actually from New York. They're vacationing here in the Valley. They dropped everything. They were here to do other things, but they came here today to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk, as so many others have done here today. One thing I do want to point out, as this afternoon has gone on, we have seen many Turning Point USA staff members come out of these two buildings here to my right. They've engaged with Charlie Kirk's supporters. They've prayed with them. They've wept with them, all to honor his life. I would say that many people here today feel as though they are weeping for somebody they may not have known personally, but someone who has made a major impact on all of their lives. We're live this afternoon in Phoenix. Sean Rice, 12 News.
You know, Sean, earlier this afternoon when you gave us a report at 1 o'clock, the crowd was pretty sizable, and it looks like it's grown even more since then.
Yeah. Yeah, Tram, it's come and gone as this afternoon has gone on. I would say from about noon to 1 o'clock is when we saw the most amount of people. Maybe that's when people had a lunch break off from work. But one thing I've noticed, too, is young children to older people have all come here. There are families showing up with multiple young children. Charlie Kirk had 2 young children himself, a boy and a girl. He is somebody who encouraged people to have children on a regular basis, and people have really heeded that and have shown up here as a family unit to pay their respects to him.
And I'm sure you've been over there and looked at that memorial, Sean. Is there anything that stands out to you? Is there a theme to the notes you're seeing? I mean, what are I see flowers. I've seen some stuffed animals. What all is over there?
Yeah, flower bouquets, handwritten notes, American flags, Trump flags, and then obviously the 2 pictures, which are the exact same of Charlie Kirk, a religious message in response to his death. And so there are some handwritten notes. I've had a chance to read some of those. People just thanking him for the impact he's had on American politics. Of course, many of these people are supporters of our current president, and so many of them have appreciated his impact on getting him back into the office. But also some of the faith-based things have been really important to these people as well.
All right, Sean, thank you so much for that report. All right, turn down to retired Salt River Police Chief Stanley Kephart, joining us now to talk about a lot of safety concerns in the wake of this political violence. Here we are again, and on an anniversary of 9/11 as well.
Yeah, what we saw yesterday, we don't know to the extent of security that was going on, obviously, and your expertise, we should also mention too, almost 40 years in law enforcement.
And also big Super Bowl things as well, right?
Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Super Bowl.
Big events.
You've covered it. You've seen it all. In a situation like what happened yesterday, an outdoor venue on a college campus, again, we don't know to what extent the security was like there, but it seemed pretty minimal.
It was a little light. There were 6 law enforcement officers from the campus police, 2 of which were in plain clothes and the remaining 4 in uniform. That meets the basic minimum standard of 2 per 1,000, and we had approximately 3,000. But that doesn't tell the story. The story is what is done on the advance team, how they sanitize the area and then lock it down with a perimeter security. And my understanding is that they didn't have that. They also didn't have a shot spotter, or they didn't have drone coverage ongoing. A lot of things that are technologically based and a lot of person power seem to be absent. And in their defense, one can, for the most part, expect that campus environments are, for the most part, safe environments.
But here we are again. Now we're showing you pictures of Sky Harbor Airport, and if you're just joining us, we're expecting the Vice President arriving on Air Force 2 with the body of Charlie Kirk in about maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes. But as I look right now and see these police officers on a rooftop, here we are again. You go back to candidate Trump in Pennsylvania, where he was within inches of being assassinated himself, and we have another roof shooter and another lapse in security that way.
It seems to be a copycat type thing in many respects. There are some of the same breakdowns appear to be evident, communication breakdown and logistical breakdowns that were present in the attempt on the president's life.
But that video we just had, they're not taking those chances with the vice president here. I mean, they've got basically any rooftop that's near that area of Terminal 2, they've got covered.
Yes, indeed they do. Too soon old, too late smart. That's what's happened here.
Mm-hmm. But obviously security being very tight at Sky Harbor. Lockdown, we clearly saw a number of crews there. I'm wondering, times are really tense right now. They've been tense. And what happened yesterday hit, somewhat of a climactic point. The vitriol is so thick you could cut it. For people who are feeling very anxious, who are feeling nervous, even, I remember yesterday one of my colleagues was saying, just keep your head on a swivel. People feeling anxious, what can we do?
You're correct about the vitriol. It is completely over the top. And that drives, hate is a consumptive emotion. It causes people to not be rational. And the last thing we want to do is react to that hate by being irrational and meeting it with hate and distrust and dislike. We need to pursue what I think Charlie Kirk would pursue, is continue to stay the course of being open to discussion, talking to people and communicating with them, and living our lives as model citizens. These things are going to occur in modern day society. It's just inevitable. But we can't meet this with blind responses and blind hate and vitriol on our part. And so that's what has to happen. In addition to that, there needs to be more attention paid to what police do and how they can do it and what the limitations are. And these limitations are present in this particular circumstance with a private security component versus a paid for by taxpayer component consisting of the FBI, Secret Service, and all of these accoutrements that a public official enjoys.
And this is what we're seeing today. As we were talking about Sky Harbor, Charlie Kirk did not have an FBI. Charlie Kirk didn't have police on the rooftop. Stanley Kephart, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay with us here on 12 News and 12 Plus as we continue to cover the murder of Charlie Kirk throughout our show. Tonight at 7 o'clock on 12 Plus, his murder was streamed across social media for millions to see and marking the end of an era of gatekeepers and a new challenge for parents trying to explain what their kids just watched. A lot of young people scrolled through their social media feed and saw a violent killing yesterday.
Yeah, truly traumatic for so many people. Tune in for a special as I sat down with a psychologist to help you navigate those conversations, what you can say to your kids, and also as adults, how we process this. You can watch it live on your TV, your phone, or your tablet. Just download the 12 Plus app and stream it for free.
All right, again, we are expecting the plane carrying Charlie Kirk's body to land in about 15 or 20 minutes. We will have that live when it happens. Coming up next, 24 years after 9/11, pausing to remember the lives lost that day.
Plus, Arizona summers, you know, they can test all of us. But can our desert wildlife handle the extreme heat? Why experts say some animals may not survive.
Your mornings don't stop, and now neither do we. Welcome to Today in AZ. 12 News Today in AZ keeps going.
Expanding to 9 a.m. on the 12 Plus streaming app.
More live weather.
More live traffic updates.
More breaking news. Live from 4:26 a.m. to 9.
12 News Today in AZ, now streaming until 9 a.m. on 12 Plus.
Download on your TV and watch for free.
Well, today marks 24 years since the deadly terror attacks of 9/11. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in New York, the Pentagon, and Pennsylvania.
A moment our nation that we'll never forget. Let's go to Lee Waldman now from New York. Part of that promise to never forget was never stop working to identify the people killed that day. So you've got more on that.
The New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner has been testing remains and using familial DNA to identify the victims who were killed. We spoke to one man whose family has a new sense of closure 24 years after his mother's death.
My mom was just a superwoman who certainly should not have been murdered in that way.
It took nearly 24 years, but Paul Keating and his siblings have a new sense of closure after their mother, Barbara Keating's remains were identified. Barbara was on one of the planes hijacked by terrorists on 9/11.
They asked us for the DNA when they thought that there was a chance they found hair in a hairbrush. And, you know, she was on the short list, obviously, from the plane.
Barbara's remains were identified along with two others last month, Ryan Fitzgerald and a woman whose family is choosing to withhold her name. It's a part of the ongoing efforts by the New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner.
This office made a very solemn promise to the families of the victims who were lost on September 11th, 2001, to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to identify their loved ones and return them to their families.
So far, the OCME has identified 1,653 remains from the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001. These latest identifications came from outreach to families for DNA reference samples and analysis using the capabilities of the city's DNA lab. Keating says they're eternally grateful for the work done by the medical examiner's office to bring them closure.
It's amazing. And yes, they did it milligram by milligram. They're still at it.
Barbara and the other two victims who were identified are the latest of the World Trade Center victims to be identified since 2024. Right now, there are still nearly 1,100 victims still unidentified. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
Lee, thank you. It's amazing that effort to identify all those victims, considering what's left. I mean, a lot of times it was just dust. All right, we just got news that we're probably about 8 minutes out from seeing the Vice President's plane, seeing Air Force 2. So again, when that happens, we'll go live wall to wall with that. Back here in Arizona, people around the valley are honoring those who died in the September 11th attacks, and volunteers up early this morning, as they do every year, setting up thousands of American flags at Tempe Beach Park.
The annual Tempe Healing Field pays tribute to all the lives lost during the 9/11 terror attacks. The victims' names were read aloud this morning as part of an emotional tribute. The public is invited to visit the healing fields now through Sunday to pay their respects.
All right, Lindsay joins us now. We should have no weather issues at all for Air Force 2 coming in, correct?
Not at all. Just a little bit of a breeze out there. Temperatures on the warm side. Humidity still up there, but I'm tracking falling temperatures and humidity in my weather impact forecast.
Coming up tonight at 7 on 12+, Charlie Kirk's public assassination captured on camera, shared across social media. So we're looking at why these graphic images haven't been taken down and what this means for especially our children who've seen these. We'll have that for you on 12+ at 7 o'clock.
Welcome back, everyone. We just want to give you a heads up that we are keeping eyes on Air Force 2. We just got word that it's roughly about 10 minutes out. It just passed over Prescott Valley. So as soon as Air Force 2 comes closer to Sky Harbor Airport, we'll, of course, bring you that coverage live.
All right, Lindsay's here now to tell us about our weather. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, yeah, another warm, rather humid day out there today. High temperature was 104, which was a little bit lower than yesterday, but the humidity stuck around another day. So it looks like it's going to begin to go down a little bit more tomorrow, and especially by the weekend. We're at 101 right now out at Sky Harbor. It's 97 in Bullhead City, 90 degrees in Page. Temperatures by 8 o'clock, though, down into the double digits. Skies will be clear. Our sunset time is at 6:39. Then looking ahead to tomorrow, highs will be similar to today, but humidity a smidge lower. Temperature-wise, we're starting off nice and comfortable. At 7 a.m., it's going to be 81 degrees, so pretty good out the door tomorrow. Temperatures making it into the triple digits by the mid-afternoon. And here's a look at those dew points. You can see they dramatically fall tomorrow. Those dew points, this is humidity, will be low all weekend, and then by next Tuesday and Wednesday, they will start to rise again. And we'll see some increasing storm chances for the second half of next week. This is our Friday across the state. High country still dealing with some breeziness out there. 101 in Phoenix, 80s along the rim. Thunderstorm chances will be mainly across the eastern half of the state. We're dealing with a little bit of gusty winds up in the high country and even down toward Gila Bend, 20-mile-per-hour gusts. We're going to see 20 to 30-mile-per-hour gusts around the state from the southwest again tomorrow, and then that'll die down after sunset tomorrow. Here's a look at our radar. You can see numerous showers and storms out towards Safford, Greenlee County, Cochise County. There's a slight chance a couple outflow boundaries may make it over the lower deserts, which could create some gusty winds and new storms. But for now, the valley is dry. As we look ahead to tomorrow, we will see storms across the eastern half of the state. So Navajo Nation, White Mountains, down through southeastern Arizona. Here's a look at the potential for even a few severe storms out across the Navajo Nation in that darker green there. But really, western Arizona, northwestern Arizona tomorrow completely dry. Here's that time frame. We start off dry tomorrow morning. Some of that daytime heating, 1-2 p.m. storms all east of I-17 tomorrow. So here's about 5 p.m., mostly hugging the New Mexico state line, and some of these storms will linger into the evening hours. Flagstaff 7-day temps are in the 70s through Monday, a little bit warmer by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Here in the valley, we have 1 day of 97, and then next week will be pretty seasonal, right around 102. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back. We have breaking news for you here. I believe we are just minutes away now from Air Force 2 heading into Phoenix Sky Harbor airspace, bringing back the body of Charlie Kirk.
And aboard Air Force 2 is Vice President JD Vance, along with his wife, USA. We also know that they are traveling with Kirk's family, as well as some of his friends from Salt Lake City, Utah. They left about roughly an hour ago, and really they're expected to arrive at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport in really just a matter of minutes now.
So we've seen security, of course, beefed up for a vice presidential visit. We don't believe that the vice president is going to get off the plane and be in a motorcade or anything like that. We believe he is going to stay at Sky Harbor Airport. We're all going to have to watch and see what happens. All right, Bianca Bono's out there for us. You have a good perspective out there. You're on the parking garage of Terminal 4. And as we explained in our last half hour, Terminal 4 is, I think, the busiest terminal at the airport. And then Terminal 3, they're actually going to Terminal 2, which is on the far west side of the airport. It's a small terminal, and it's easily secured. What are you seeing out there, Bianca?
Last 5 minutes or so, we've started to notice some black SUVs pull out onto the tarmac of Terminal 2, that executive terminal where Air Force 2 will be landing in anticipation of this plane's arrival. We also have seen at least a dozen Phoenix police vehicles with their lights on driving around the runways here. And you mentioned these terminals are typically very busy. That has changed significantly in the past 3 minutes or so. It appears as though there may be a hold on takeoffs and landings now, just in anticipation of Air Force 2's arrival. I'm seeing just south of me an American Airlines plane is taking off, but nothing is happening on the main tarmac here where we expect Air Force 2 to touch down. I mentioned earlier there were some supporters of Charlie Kirk that have shown up here. They are now kind of in position facing the north, just waiting until we get that first glimpse of the plane coming from the north. We last checked and it was about in the Black Canyon City area. Pretty moving moment as a couple showed up here. A military veteran himself showed up with an American flag. They plan to drape that flag over the Terminal 4 parking garage, hoping that those on board Air Force 2 will be able to see it. So emotions certainly very high for those that have shown up here to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk, guys.
Yeah, the rules are very different, Bianca, when you have Air Force 1 or Air Force 2 land. Generally, they do a full ground stop, so no other planes are taking off and landing. And then the other thing that we just don't know for sure, again, I mentioned it earlier, we don't know if the vice president is planning on traveling here in Phoenix at all. And if he doesn't, whether or not Charlie Kirk's body and his family will be in some sort of a motorcade. Now, I've been in a motorcade before, and it's a surreal feeling. I was with the vice president, I'm spacing on the vice president's name, sorry. But it was so strange because you don't stop for stoplights. You don't stop for stop signs. You get on the freeway. There's nobody else on the freeway. And so they travel very quickly when they get to their destination.
Well, yeah, and when you talk about how they just travel without any stops, I mean, we've all kind of been on the receiving end of it in traffic because literally it will come to a standstill. They will block off all entries and exits onto the freeway. They will just clear it so that there is just, you know, a smooth pathway to their destination.
Yeah, so we are waiting. We got word about, I'd say at least 5-6 minutes ago that they were over Prescott Valley, and generally that's about 5 or 6 minutes. So we should be able to see Air Force 2 any minute now. So what else is going on out there, Bianca? How about security? Tell us what you've seen out there in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
Security is visible, I can tell you that, and obviously there are so many layers that we are not seeing, but Phoenix police and other entities that are certainly helping out in this effort are making it known that they are securing this airport today for this tragic event. I mentioned what we're seeing in the executive terminal alone. Of course, that's where all eyes will be in a matter of minutes here. But I'm seeing black SUVs that are there in position already on the tarmac, along with Phoenix police vehicles. I'm watching another Phoenix police vehicle with its lights on, just driving around, really patrolling the entire perimeter of Sky Harbor Airport right now as we await Air Force 2's arrival. We are keeping our eyes peeled to the north as really we can see the plane come into this airspace any second now, guys. We're not sure if the plane will be landing east to west or west to east. I'm not sure if that's information that's been relayed to you guys back in the studio, but we are watching for that because we're not totally sure. I am seeing police in every direction you can imagine. I'm watching a Phoenix police fire truck with its lights on right now on the east side of the tarmac. Again, just patrolling the entire perimeter of Sky Harbor right now.
All right, we just got word that we believe the plane is landing east to west, or at least that's the way traffic is going right now. So you may be looking more to your right, Bianca, with these shots here. But I would imagine in the next few minutes, that's going to be the only arriving plane. So as soon as you see it come in there.
Okay, we just got word that Air Force Two is passing Scottsdale Airport.
So we should be able to see it any minute.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, what, 20 minutes away from here if you're driving. So really, any second now, we should hopefully be able to see Air Force Two. Bianca, you just mentioned, you know, the supporters. About how big is this group on the rooftop with you?
On the rooftop near me, I'm seeing about a dozen people or so, and I can tell you from zooming into our camera, we saw another group of supporters on the rooftop of Terminal 3, and I imagine they are scattered all around this airport, probably some in the cell phone lots as well. A lot of people felt like it was important to be here to welcome Charlie Kirk's body back home to Arizona and pay their respects. I imagine there are so many people still turning up to Turning Point's headquarters today, but like I said, just really moving to see this military veteran showing up with an American flag here today to drape that over. It was very important for them that, you know, they give those on board the opportunity to see that flag and know that they are welcomed with open arms back to Arizona.
Well, it just goes to show you the regard that the Trump administration had for Charlie Kirk. They credited him with really mobilizing young voters for their ticket, their successful ticket coming up last year. And so that's why you have a vice president basically escorting his body with his young family back here. I would imagine we should be able to see it just about any second here. It's not a small plane. It's a modified 757. They've been making those planes, you know, for 50 years. It doesn't look like Air Force One. It's got the same paint job. It's a very similar paint job, but it's got a much thinner body. Yeah, I would imagine that is it.
All right. And that is Air Force Two. We see it now coming from Salt Lake City, Utah. It left there just about an hour ago with the body and the casket of Charlie Kirk. Obviously, JD Vance, he was a good friend. They were good friends together. In fact, he had said that Kirk had advocated in public and private for President Trump to pick Vance as his running mate last year. So this is deeply personal for the vice president. We also know that his wife, Second Lady USA, is also aboard Air Force Two along with his family. We know that Kirk leaves behind his wife, 2 young children. There are also some friends aboard Air Force Two. Just a very private and emotional journey back to his home state.
Yeah, personal and public, as you mentioned. So Air Force Two just banked off to the east. It is now turned in. It's going to come in and land towards the west, and that is towards the downtown Phoenix and central Phoenix area. It's going to land. It takes a few minutes to taxi. One thing we haven't seen on an Air Force One or Two in a very long time is them bringing a casket off of that plane. Yeah. You know, you think back to the assassination of John F. Kennedy on those horrible days back in 1963 when they had to bring a lift up. You know, these planes aren't necessarily fitted to be able to do that. So that's something we're going to see in a few minutes as well. All right, so are you able to see with the naked eye out there, Bianca?
We are. The plane is pretty far out to the east of Sky Harbor now, but I imagine it'll start to turn around and head back toward this way. And yeah, it'll be incredibly emotional to see a casket get carried off of this aircraft. The folks that have shown up here, I'm seeing people wipe tears from their eyes. The second that they got a glimpse of that plane, I imagine it started to feel very real for them, what is about to happen here. And the second that we could see that coming in from the northeast down towards Sky Harbor, it was all eyes were glued to the sky here. And you can kind of feel a mood shift. People were talking prior to seeing the plane, and now it's gone pretty quiet up here and quite somber as people just watch this aircraft start to make its way, I imagine, turning around and heading back towards the west. And Tram was starting to talk a little bit about just, again, how personal this is for the vice president. This is his good friend that has passed away, that he is on board his casket with, and with his family and with his children. You know, a friendship that dates back to 2017. We talked about it at the top of the hour, but it started with a message that Vice President Vance received from Charlie Kirk, a person he didn't know at the time, and the two started chatting, and they had so much in common with regards to their political beliefs and their values. They were both skeptical of President Trump for a time, and came around on that. And it sounds like Charlie Kirk was really a confidant for Vice President Vance throughout his political career, prior to, of course, him becoming the vice presidential pick. But we know that Charlie Kirk, according to JD Vance, was hugely influential in Donald Trump selecting JD Vance. So just every step of JD Vance's political journey, Charlie Kirk appears to have been a part of it. And not only that, JD Vance has talked about the fact that Charlie Kirk was there for him and his family personally as they then started to navigate the criticism and the intense scrutiny that comes with being the vice presidential pick, the impact that it had on his wife, on his children. Charlie Kirk would routinely ask him about that. So losing him yesterday was not just losing a political ally, it was losing a friend, guys.
Yeah, and you know, he goes on to say, the vice president goes on to say that he really credited Kirk with some of the Trump administration's personal decisions. He said that so much of the success we've had in this administration traces directly to Charlie's ability to organize and convene. He didn't just help us win in 2024, he helped us staff the entire government. And Troy, I think, you had mentioned how this is a moment, I think, in history where we don't see something like this, where there is a casket on
an Air Force One or Air Force Two.
Exactly, on a presidential
That's the last
plane.
thing you want to see.
Exactly, and I think that just goes to show how revered he was, clearly by President Trump, but also, JD Vance, and how deeply personal this is. This wasn't just a colleague. It was his dear friend who helped him in so many ways. So to send Air Force One, immediately the day after he was shot, that really, really speaks volumes.
Yeah, and Air Force Two, and on a on a human level, look, I know Charlie Kirk was a divisive individual. Not everybody agrees with his politics, and I think that's well established. But just on a human level, sitting there with a grieving young wife. This is a young family. And the two young children has to be incredibly difficult. Is it possible for us to keep Bianca's picture up and get Jade's microphone up? Because I believe what we're seeing down at the ground level is something we saw at Salt Lake, where they've been positioning buses in to kind of keep the privacy of the family as they leave. Jade, are you down there and are you witnessing that?
The buses.
Yes, I am out here. We are actually at the cell phone waiting lot, which is right across the street from Lincoln J. Ragsdale Executive Terminal. You see that rental car shuttle has just been positioned in front of a gate which leads onto the tarmac. And, this obviously is a high-profile landing, so they are taking every security precaution they can ahead of the arrival of Air Force Two. We have seen heavy law enforcement presence from Phoenix police officers, surrounding this area. We have seen drones up in the sky. We also have Secret Service who checked all the media. As you can imagine, there is a lot of media out here waiting for Air Force Two. Secret Service checking all of our equipment, our cameras, our luggage and backpacks. And then you also have, as you guys were seeing earlier, the law enforcement officers on top of the rooftops of the buildings out here. So yes, of course, they are taking every security measure that they possibly can.
Are you seeing any indication? Now, the president travels in those long stretch limousines that are known as the Beasts. There are two of them. And then they generally have those big black SUVs that are run by the Secret Service, which are full of weaponry and different gear to keep the president safe. What are you seeing in the motorcade out there?
Those black SUVs.
Yeah, from our vantage point, it's a little bit difficult to see the motorcade. We do see several black SUVs, and we are seeing, of course, the law enforcement, Phoenix police officers on the tarmac as well. There also are those rental car, those buses. blocking and on the tarmac for obviously security measures. But from where we are, we don't really have the best vantage point of what exactly will make up that motorcade. Just
right,
a
Jade.
couple of black SUVs from what we can see here.
Thank you. Wrap you up real quick here as Air Force Two is just now touching down at Sky Harbor Airport with the body of Charlie Kirk, Vice President JD Vance, and Charlie Kirk's family.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk's family, along with Charlie Kirk's friends, are also on board. JD Vance's wife, USA, is also on board. Not just, you know, personal allies, but personal friends of Charlie Kirk, all aboard and bringing back his casket. We know that a hearse is also waiting down on the tarmac to carry that casket to a nearby mortuary. But right now, just a very somber moment right now. You have supporters up on some of the rooftops of the Terminal 4, where Bianca's at, and just very moved, some even in tears at the sight of this.
So there will be a little taxiing here, and generally it's fairly short. So they've gone down to the far west end of the runway, and again, the modified 757, which has close to the same paint job that we see on Air Force One is what Air Force Two has. It's a smaller plane, and it'll get into place in front of Terminal 2. I thought I saw some chase vehicles going out to it. So there'll be vehicles out there that will get out there and kind of secure it and get around it right away. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to unload Charlie Kirk's body from here, and whether or not the Vice President is going to make an appearance of some sort and walk the widow and the family down onto the tarmac.
We'll have to wait and see, but we want to bring in right now Stanley Kephart. He has been with law enforcement for almost 40 years now. He's now retired. He used to be the Salt River Police Chief. Stanley, you know, you've covered big visits like this, obviously not in detail this situation with, you know, the body being brought back after an assassination. But in a situation like this, we keep talking a lot about security, and we've seen a lot about security. What is happening here?
This is a close protective detail security assignment where you have a unit that is going to envelop the principals here that they're assigned to. And then there is an adjunct to that, which will be the route of travel, which will be covered by local authority and the Secret Service as well. So it's a cooperative effort that umbrellas the touchdown, the removal of the casket, and then the transfer of the casket and the parties that are involved with this all the way through.
So they'll come down, and I've seen this with Air Force One. I'm trying to think the last time I saw a landing of Air Force Two. There was a small chase unit, and generally, I guess I'm seeing one of the units. Is that the hearse, or I see at the bottom of your screen, or maybe that's just one of the cars?
We do see people walking.
So they'll go through, and they'll kind of surround this plane, won't they?
Yes, that is typical of this assignment. This is an umbrella, if you will, of security that has different component parts and different assignments for different agencies, but they all work in coordinated fashion to affect proper security.
Is there a difference between, you know, the security and the detail between when Air Force One lands versus Air Force Two, and also in a very, you know, delicate situation like this, where there is a body being brought back to Sky Harbor?
Sure. With the first part of your question, there is a difference in terms of magnitude, in terms of assignments. The plane is smaller, the number of people are smaller, and so accordingly you would have fewer task operatives doing this. As it relates to the objectives of the security, they're the same. They're identical. They're there to provide appropriate security based on the level, the threat assessments that are done prior to this. There is an infinite number of things that go into the actual doing of this process.
All right, let's get back out to Jade if we can. Jade's picture is on the top right of your screen. She's on the ground. It looks like they have brought out the stairs, and the back door to the plane of Air Force Two has opened up. What are you seeing, Jade?
Yeah, guys, so we did see that staircase kind of move towards the back of Air Force 2 there. No doors have opened yet, but again, on board, we do know that Charlie Kirk's family and friends, looks like they're opening the door right now, and it looks like they're moving that bus right in front of us. So I don't know if you can see through where we are, but it looks like they have opened the back door of that aircraft again on board. We do know that Charlie Kirk's family and friends on board, Vice President JD Vance and the Second Lady, as well as Charlie Kirk's body. As we were talking earlier, of course, security is of the utmost concern here. They are leaving no stone unturned. Law enforcement is very heavy where we are. We are in the West Cell Phone waiting lot right across the street from Lincoln J. Ragsdale Executive Terminal. We are seeing Phoenix police officers. We are seeing Secret Service.
Jade, sorry to interrupt you here, because we do have a vantage point that you don't right now. It looks like there are a number of people getting off of Air Force 2 right now, and they have moved, like as I said earlier, we saw it when they took off in Salt Lake City. They are moving those buses in, I believe, to give the families some privacy as they leave the plane. But I'm counting, and this is a ways off. What would you say, about a dozen people have gotten off?
At least.
Yeah.
Oh, at least.
And it's hard to see who they are. I mean, any idea who you think would be traveling with them?
I really don't know. There's a substantial security component, I'm sure.
Right, and then we understand there were also some friends of Charlie Kirk as well who may have been traveling with him, and maybe some staff from Turning Point, and I don't know, that hasn't been confirmed. One thing that has been confirmed, we just heard this from our producer a couple of moments ago. President Trump had talked about basically his people wanting him to come out here for any funeral. He has confirmed he will be out here for the funeral. We don't have a date yet, but President Trump will be traveling here to the Valley. And it appears, doesn't it, that there are moving in that lift that we talked about.
That apparatus,
yeah.
right, it looks like, I mean, we assume to carry the casket.
Right. Oh, and it looks like the front of the plane is open as well. But what I believe what we just saw was a lot of people getting off the back of the plane. So we don't know who's going to come off here. It's very difficult for me to see. Maybe we could take that full screen. I don't know if anybody can recognize who that is. Probably just somebody who's helping with the flight or a member of staff out there as well. Jade, you might have a good shot on this. This is your camera. What are you seeing?
Hey guys, yeah, so unfortunately they keep moving that shuttle bus right in front of the aircraft, so we really don't have a great vantage point of the aircraft from where we are. But I can tell you that there is a large crowd of Charlie Kirk supporters outside on the other side of this gate. They are people of all ages. They have been gathering here all day. When I got out here around 3 o'clock or so, there was minimal, maybe a handful of people, and you can see that it has since grown quite large. You have people with American flags, hats. Obviously, they want to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk out here waiting for that glimpse.
Yeah, and then I was mistaken. This is not Jade's camera. Yeah, Jade is back on the other side of that bus. This is your camera here. I'm sorry, tell us again. What are we looking at here, Jade? Now we're seeing your camera.
And a lot of supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, we are at the West Cell Phone waiting lot. We are right across the street from the Lincoln J. Ragsdale Executive Terminal. We are on the other side of where Air Force 2 has ended its journey. You can see the supporters that have gathered out here in that other cell phone waiting lot. People of all ages. They are holding American flags. They have, you know, hats on, patriotic hats and clothes, and they obviously just want to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk as well as his family and friends. They're wanting to catch a glimpse of the motorcade as it possibly, you know, will eventually go by. But yeah, unfortunately, Air Force 2, we just don't have a good vantage point from where we are here.
Yeah, and they're doing that again for privacy for the family. And look, they've been through a lot. And it's understandable. The one thing we don't know is what this motorcade is going to look like. It was Mike Pence who was with the Vice President when we were in that motorcade. And that was an official vice presidential motorcade where they actually go in advance. There are teams of usually motor officers on their motorcycles that go through and shut off every different intersection. So you never slow down. You're doing 50 miles an hour on city streets. When you get on the freeway, there's nobody else on that freeway. What do you think? Do you think they're going to get the official motorcade here? Or?
I would be surprised if they didn't. I would actually be surprised if they didn't.
And we are seeing some motor officers getting ready here.
Yeah, I would think that would be the case.
I think it's pretty powerful if our photographer can hear us, but just to go back to those supporters who are, you know, using their phones to capture this very emotional moment for them. There we go. You know, you see children who are also among the crowd, and the turnout, of course, you know, you expected the turnout to be at the national headquarters in Phoenix at Turning Point USA.
But that's been surprisingly large as well, I think.
Right,
I mean,
right. And
the
see this.
flowers, the memorial.
Right.
You know. Well, look, he was a great speaker. He was a great motivator for his people. And, you know, if you believe the political pundits, he influenced an election. And, you know, in a very young life. Really starting at 18, right, professionally, and going from there. So, yeah, so the picture on the left you're seeing is from the very top floor of the parking garage at Terminal 4, and we're looking down to that executive terminal, which is well away from Terminal 4 and Terminal 3, and that's where, you know, hundreds of flights a day originate from Sky Harbor. And the executive terminal, if you've ever been inside there, it's probably, I don't know, maybe 4,000 square feet. It's not large. And it's just a room. It's got a couple of different meeting rooms in it and bathrooms and things like that, but it's very sparse. But it does allow you to park an aircraft in an area where you're not surrounded by really people or other planes.
So again, we are waiting for that casket to be lifted off of Air Force 2. From there, there is a hearse that's waiting. From there, they will leave Sky Harbor Airport and make their way to nearby.
Yeah, so I believe it's called Hanson's. There's no confirmation on that. I do know that it's at 7th Street in Peoria. So it's a pretty direct route. Peoria, just a couple of miles south of the 101. But again, if we do get this official motorcade, they should get there, I would imagine, in about 10 minutes. It should be about a 10-minute drive, maybe 15, up into that area, because again, they won't slow down.
And we do have a reporter, Rachel Cole. She is also standing by at the mortuary on the receiving end when that casket arrives. But I want to bring in psychologist Dr. Morgan Francis. Morgan, we were talking earlier, you know, just about the emotions that this has evoked, whether or not you knew Charlie Kirk or you were familiar with him, but just to see, you know, this violent attack, this horrific attack that happened yesterday, and now, you know, we're really witnessing a historic moment right now.
We really are, and as Troy mentioned earlier, this brings up so many memories for people regarding John Kennedy and what they experienced. So I'm sure this is bringing up a lot of emotions because we're seeing support, we're seeing a lot of hope that something positive where we can come together as a community will help us get through this. And by coming down to Sky Harbor, by watching the Vice President come out.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I believe this is Kirk's family coming out of the plane. Hard for me to recognize on this shot. Do you want to take that full screen, guys? And there's the Vice President, I believe. Isn't that JD Vance behind? I believe that is.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, hard to see.
Yeah.
So he is escorting the family off of the plane. And I would imagine now they will make their way to, I don't know if it's limousines or SUVs, and the hearse will be following them. And we did not see the casket being taken off the plane, but we had a tough vantage point.
Right, right. Obviously, with the security and just some privacy, you could see the tail end of one of those buses there being purposely positioned to give the family some privacy. Naturally, you can understand why, but again, they just got off of Air Force 2, and from there, that casket is lifted off of Air Force 2, that will be taken to the nearby mortuary.
And you're seeing that in the bottom right, that small box there, that's the mortuary that they are headed to. And so Sky 12 will be over that, and as soon as the motorcade begins, I believe they're going to follow them from the airport. There's temporary flight restrictions called a TFR, where Sky 12 cannot get close to Air Force 2. And generally, it's for any VIP type official, president, vice president, so we have to be at least 5 miles back, which is why we were in that different area. You know what I keep thinking about, Doctor, is this, the young wife, the 2 little kids, you know, and I'm sure it helps that they're feeling this much support, right? Do you think?
Absolutely. they need this support, and they absolutely deserve all of our support, because these are two young children who may not completely be able to comprehend this tragic event, and they will remember this day for the rest of their lives. And they will remember coming and being with their mother and seeing her and her grief and their family members. So this is a moment that will change the trajectory of their life.
It is really unimaginable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so many young people, you know, my kids, I'm sure, Tram, your kids. I don't know if they're on social media yet. I've got little older kids. But scrolling through and watching this graphic assassination yesterday. I mean, thoughts on that?
Yes, it was traumatic, and it was extremely graphic. I actually thought I was watching something from AI when I first saw it, and it made my stomach hurt. And we're all processing those graphic images, and it doesn't make sense that it's just so close to us on our phones, and we don't have to search for it. You go right onto your phone, and it pops right out without a trigger warning.
And that's what was so disturbing, is that,
yes.
you know, you're not prepared to see something like this, and it just shows up.
It just shows up, and parents were not prepared to talk about this, because many teenagers already saw it before their teenager came home from school. So they get into the car and they right away tell their mom or dad, this is what I saw. And it is important to talk about it, and it is important to ask your teenager what they saw and what their thoughts were, how they're feeling about it. It is important that we validate that it was awful and so much shock and disbelief to see something so graphic on their phone. And it makes sense that they might feel scared or uneasy, and there may be some disruption acutely for the next several days or weeks due to the current events of what's going on, not only with Charlie Kirk, but also the recent school shooting yesterday. So we're really—
I feel like we're surrounded by violence,
yes,
right, anymore.
So
if you are just joining us now, we are looking, we've got 3 different pictures up on our screen. The two larger ones are basically from the cell phone lot right across from Air Force 2. And if you're just joining us, Air Force 2 landed maybe a half an hour ago. Vice President JD Vance, the body of Charlie Kirk and his family. They are still, we believe, I would imagine by now they're probably in that executive terminal getting ready to go. I can't imagine they're still on the tarmac. We can't see them.
Which I feel like, and Stanley, I mean, earlier these shots, everything was static, right? Like there was no traffic moving whatsoever. And now it looks like maybe some of the security has been lifted because we're seeing so much traffic.
Now they're staging for different areas to prepare for this motorcade. That's—
Sorry, we apologize.
Yeah, I think we've got Jade up there right now. Jade, do you have something for us? I hear you talking. Could you have something for us, Jade? I mean, we might be having some problems with Jade's earpiece of her hearing us. But I would think that the reason that they're able to let traffic go again is maybe the vice president is secured inside that building, or what would you think?
Yes, I would think so. And as I said, they stage before they prepare to move. And this is a transfer of responsibility. The Secret Service simply doesn't have enough person power or the technology to conduct a motorcade, and the locals do. And so with the motorcycles and those types of—
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Jade. All right, here we are, Charlie Kirk's body. And this is heavy.
Yeah. Now.
Being taken off of Air Force 2 right now. It's on a lift. It's in a wood casket. And looks
lifted
like—
by a number, like it looks like at least, 6 or so people there.
It's like Air Force person. It's the Air Force Honor Guard is what we're hearing, and it looks like there may even be like a Marine in the back, or maybe it is all Air Force.
Right. And that was that apparatus that we had seen earlier, the big apparatus to move in to butt up to Air Force 2 in order to get that casket out.
And they're securing it now. The finality of this, right? I mean, we had a 31-year-old yesterday doing what he believed in. And now we've got this.
yes, it feels really intense to be watching this, because so much emotion is coming up. And it makes sense for us and the viewers to be really taking a moment and taking this in in front of us.
So, you know, and to make it even tougher, so his wife and his young family and the vice president, I'm sure, are close by, and this is something they're witnessing as well. I would imagine they're going to take the casket from here and put it in the hearse. They have a fairly short drive in terms of, you know, Phoenix Metro standards. They're going to go from this area, which is basically just a little bit east of downtown Phoenix, and they're going to head it just a little bit north, basically 7th Avenue in Peoria. I'd imagine a 10 or 15 minute drive.
Well, and especially, Stanley, as you were saying, I mean, chances are the traffic will come to a halt in order for the hearse to make a smooth transition, a smooth ride to the mortuary.
The escort will ensure that that's done. That's what the motors are for, the motorcycles.
Yeah, and so what they'll do generally, and I've seen as many as maybe, what, 25 or maybe 30 of them?
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. They'll get together. So they work in teams. You know, 2 or 3 of them will go to one intersection and stop that, and then the next one go up to the one after and the one after. And then as soon as the motorcade passes, they race up from the back to the next motorcade, so they're not stopped by traffic. And also that's another security issue, right? You don't want to be sitting at a stoplight, and because that's when bad actors can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so if you were just joining us here, 5:06 Arizona time, and the body of Charlie Kirk, who was murdered yesterday in Utah, has arrived here in the Valley, just taken off of Air Force 2. The Vice President JD Vance came off that plane just a short time ago, along with Charlie Kirk's family. A number of other people as well. We don't know exactly who. We said it was at least over a dozen. May have been co-workers of his or friends, family members, people who traveled out to Utah to make this trip with him.
And we know that, you know, we've got several reporters stationed at various points here, 2 of which are at the airport, Bianca up on the rooftop, Jade down on the ground. Jade, I'm wondering from your vantage point, because there look like to be dozens of people showing up with their flags draped over the fences. What is it that you're seeing as they are witnessing this moment right here as the casket is being secured?
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here, but yes, we are seeing a ton of support out here across the street from this executive terminal. Again, a lot of people of all ages. Many are holding American flags. And I've been watching them because we really can't see what's happening with Air Force 2 just because of the security measures that are being taken in place. But I have been standing here just kind of watching the people and their reaction, and it's emotional out here. A lot of people I'm seeing wiping away tears. And I think it's a very overwhelming moment for them, and they're trying to take it in, and they felt the need to be here and pay their respects to Charlie Kirk and his family. So that's what we're seeing out here, just a lot of people, more people, in fact, showing up. Earlier, we actually heard some bagpipes as well, so I'm sure that may pick up as soon as this motorcade leaves the tarmac. But yeah, more and more people are starting to show up. We're hearing cars honking their horns, some cars pulling over to see if they can see a glimpse. So just a lot of support out here for Charlie Kirk and his family.
And we just saw the casket being lowered down. That must have been some sort of a lift type truck on hydraulics that got up high so it could get it out of the plane, because of course the plane sits, you know, many feet off the tarmac. And I would imagine now it's being brought over to the hearse, and then that motorcade will start again, going from the airport up into kind of north central Phoenix. Can we get back to Bianca? Maybe if we get a second, just chat with her for a second, because she does have a different vantage point, and I know she was with other supporters up on the top of the parking structure of Terminal 4. So Bianca, what have you seen here?
Yeah, and just moments before Air Force 2 came into the airspace here, dozens of people showed up. I don't know how many of our viewers have been on the rooftop of the Terminal 4 parking garage, but the entire side of it, from east to west, was ultimately lined with supporters of Charlie Kirk that showed up here, here to pay their respects. Not people that were here that just so happened to have a flight, people that took time out of their day to be here. I mentioned a military veteran I spoke with who showed up here with his wife. They came with an American flag. As soon as we got a glimpse of the plane, they draped that flag over the side of the terminal. People put their hands over their heart. People were crying. They were emotional. many of them are still here now because although we are far away, again, we're at Terminal 4, this is all unfolding in the executive terminal, Terminal 2, you can still see the plane and you can see just a part of that hearse that's there ready to receive the casket. So we are watching those movements happen from afar, albeit, but we are able to still see some of that movement. So folks here, I imagine, will stay until they see Air Force 2 depart. It was important for them to be here. Many of them talked about following on social media some of what has happened up in Utah, being moved by videos that emerged from Turning Point colleagues of Charlie Kirk from the tarmac in Utah showing Vice President JD Vance help carry the casket of Charlie Kirk and load it onto Air Force 2, a very moving image for so many people that I talked to today. So again, just kind of watching and waiting, a very somber mood up here, even though the plane, again, is far away from where we're standing. Just the presence of what's going on here is being felt still. So again, our vantage point a bit further away, but we can still make out that hearse there. We could see when that casket was being unloaded from Air Force 2 and are now just watching and waiting as it continues to make its way into the hearse, guys.
And there are quite a number of people on the tarmac.
Yeah.
You know, dozens, it looks like.
Can you take that Bianca shot full screen? Because we just put it up in the studio and we can see it a lot better. So just to the left of that crane, I think they're building a whole new terminal down there. So that's a big crane in the middle of our screen. It appears that's where the hearse is. Yes, and I can see the back of it open, just over the highway sign, that middle highway sign you see. Yeah, and I would say there's probably 40 or 50 people down there, wouldn't you say that?
I mean, earlier when we saw JD Vance and Charlie Kirk's family get off Air Force 2, you know, there weren't a lot of people who were getting off the plane, but now from this somewhat top-level shot here, you can see just dozens of people gathered there. We're not quite sure who exactly was there to greet the family.
Are they moving the casket in now? It looks like there's a group of men walking slowly towards the open door of the hearse. We can't see the casket, but it looks like they are loading the body of Charlie Kirk into the back of this white hearse from what we're seeing. You know, oftentimes when a dignitary comes in, people will wait there inside Terminal 2 to greet that dignitary, which is probably why we saw maybe a dozen people come off the plane, but quite a few more people here. Obviously, Charlie Kirk made his name for himself in this city. He built a very successful business here in this city, a political business. I don't know what else you would call it. And basically, I'm sure there are hundreds, if not thousands of people in this city who personally knew him. You know, when you build a business like that, you meet a lot of people.
Absolutely. And, you know, the friends, the allies, the supporters, I mean, you can see it now. You really can. I mean, he made a name for himself at a very young age, didn't finish college, but yet his reach was truly, I mean, whether you believe in his ideology or not, the fact that his reach went so far is quite remarkable for someone who had never held a political office, an official political office. The impact that he had and the influence that he had on so many people, and clearly on the Trump administration here, because this is what we're seeing here with Air Force 2 personally delivering his casket back to his home.
And I believe they just shut the back door of the hearse. Jade reported that there was some sort of, she heard bagpipe music, so I would imagine maybe there's some sort of a mini ceremony that's happening right there on the tarmac. So I would imagine in the next few minutes, and we could probably tell as, you know, the people who are standing here start breaking up and heading towards different cars, that motorcade should begin. Again, I'm estimating about 15 minutes once it starts. We've got Sky 12. The bottom part of your screen on the right is the destination. That is the mortuary at 7th Street and Peoria, where they will be headed. And we plan on following this procession as it makes its way there.
Right, and really it looks like, you know, they really should be leaving relatively soon, because it did look like the door of the back of that hearse closed. So really, you know, any moment now, but clearly a very somber moment. You've got supporters up on the rooftop where Bianca's at, Terminal 4. You've got supporters on the ground and even children there too, not only at that location, but also at the national headquarters in Phoenix at Turning Point USA.
And we're going to check in with Sean probably once this procession begins. I think we'll talk to him at that point. So, but Doctor, you know, one of the things that hit me just right now is that the closing of the hearse door, right? I mean, it's got to be one of those things that just hits you in the stomach, right? For anybody, especially his family.
Absolutely. It's this visceral feeling to watch that, to see the men carry the casket, to see them place it into the hearse, and the finality of it closing. It really just makes it so more real because we are watching this live, and the coverage is allowing us to experience this all together. And it brings up a tremendous amount of emotion, of grief, the hurt that we feel for his wife and children, and the community. As you talked about earlier, Trem, he really had an impact on young conservative Americans who felt so aligned with his views. And he really did represent freedom of speech and encouraging young Americans to debate on topics without violence. And he really had a far reach with his podcast. He was incredibly successful. And this is a really emotional, difficult time for all of us to be witnessing together.
So the video you're seeing on your top right is Turning Point USA. And again, we'll get to Sean in just a moment. But I'm wondering if we should almost get down to Jade, if we can do that, because I would imagine it appears that people now are heading to vehicles. And if Jade has a feeling of whether or not we are getting ready to start this motorcade and head out of here. Jade?
Yeah, guys, I think we are starting to get just a little bit close. We're seeing a little bit more activity with Phoenix Police. They have some motorcycle on-duty officers kind of setting up over there. We're starting to see some kind of gather in that general location, but really a lot of the activity is just with the people here. We're seeing a lot of cars stopping, asking what's going on. Of course, those obviously who know what's going on, they have their phones out taking pictures. And again, just this crowd that's right next to us or across the street from us, it just continues to grow with supporters. So we are seeing just a little bit of movement. They still have that shuttle, though, blocking the front of the fence, obviously for privacy. So we still can't see a whole lot that's happening on the tarmac, but just out here, it does look like there is some preparations underway for, you know, something to start happening here soon.
Well, and it looks like the crowd, you know, this kind of ground shot that we see to the left here, it looks like the crowd is starting to disperse. So people, you know, getting into their vehicles and that hearse probably leaving pretty soon, but it definitely isn't as crowded on the tarmac as it was just a couple of minutes ago.
And I would imagine that those people in there were very close to the Kirk family, and so they're probably, for the first time, seeing his family, right, and giving their, you know, condolences. And we don't know exactly when the funeral is going to be. We mentioned it earlier if you're just tuning in. President Trump has confirmed that he's going to be coming out for the funeral, and we don't know exactly when that's going to be. I do want to mention something very quickly. We do have NBC Nightly News coming up here. This is locally in Phoenix. I know other stations are taking the signal right now, but here in Phoenix, we have NBC Nightly News coming up in about 11 minutes. And when that happens, we're going to go to our streaming app, 12 Plus. I believe you can also watch us on our online, so 12news.com. So again, we're not ending, even though we're breaking away for nightly news.
We will continue our coverage of this until that casket has been delivered to the mortuary. But we will be streaming again from 5:30 to 6 o'clock on 12 Plus. On 12 Plus, but also we will resume our television coverage as well at 6 o'clock. But again, just to bring you up to speed, that to the right top corner, that is Turning Point USA. That is their national headquarters.
Should we go to Sean?
In downtown Phoenix.
Sean, are you ready to talk with us? I know we've got some time, it appears, and before this motorcade leaves.
Yeah.
What are you seeing there?
Yeah. This has been an incredibly moving day, and just as we've been on the air, seeing Air Force 2 come in over the last hour or so, I've seen people, it's been consistent. They come up, some just want to hold a moment of silence with their family members. There are a lot of families, young children, mothers, fathers here with those children. Some just want to hold a moment of silence. Others want to pray over these two memorials. I'm going to step out so you can see what we've been seeing. There's two memorials, one on the left side of your screen here, another one that's on the further right side, and there is a group of people at each of them, some closer, some further, who, as I mentioned, are just paying their respects at this point. Another thing that's really caught my eye, you can't help but notice it, is people from all different occupations here. There's some people who look as though they just got off work from a construction site, others donning a suit and tie. I think that goes to show the reach that Charlie Kirk had in his life and his political movement. Is this is someone who people feel as though they could relate to. This is someone who felt as though he had a message for the average everyday American and could come to their level and engage in daily debates on the topics that we all care about the most. So it's just been an incredibly moving scene out here. This crowd has been incredibly consistent over the last 6 hours that we've been here. I think if you can come off further to the right, Patrick, my photographer, it's just this, there's an incredibly long line of Charlie Kirk supporters here, and this has been what we've seen all throughout today. We'll send it back to you.
All right, go ahead.
We just got word that if you're watching on the left side of your screen there, obviously this is a shot of a parking lot, but earlier when it was on the tarmac, we just got word that the hearse has already left. And Stanley, you were saying that JD Vance, his vehicle was right behind it?
It's a governmental official because it was a flagged vehicle, American flag on it, flying in the front, and that indicates that it was a government official. So I would surmise that it could be the vice president.
You know, maybe we get to Jade. Jade, you're down there, and you would know if they have left. I know it takes a second to get Jade's mic up. What are you seeing, Jade?
Yes, so the hearse actually just left just moments ago, and they took a sharp right, so we didn't get a good vantage point, but as soon as that hearse went by, the crowd next to us immediately began shouting and waving, some still wiping away tears. So again, we weren't able to get a good glimpse of it, but it did leave the tarmac and is en route to its final destination.
You know, we're looking right now, this is the 10 we're looking at? I would imagine is it the 10 in that area? Yeah, it is the 10. This is Interstate 10, which is a very busy roadway. And I would think that they would shut that down for the motorcade. So I wonder if they're taking surface streets. We kind of lost them here. What are your thoughts on that?
I would think that probably would be a better way.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
It stayed low. It did not go on the freeway.
There it is. That's it right there.
Okay, the white hearse.
They're getting on the freeway right now, it appears.
With the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yes, leading the way. And right there, it looks like that's the white hearse.
Yeah, so this is the on-ramp to, it would be westbound Interstate 10, which winds right next to downtown Phoenix. And it does appear that they have a full brigade of motor officers in front of them, but I don't think, we'll find out fairly quickly, because once they get on that freeway, they'll make a right. If you're looking at the screen, we'll know whether or not they've shut it down, because there'll be no other cars there. Right. So they're making a right here as they get on the freeway.
There it is. Yeah, you can see the motorcycles leading the way.
Yep.
Is this Sky 12 video now? Where's this from?
Sky 12 is down below in that lower right-hand corner box.
Oh, this is from our the fourth floor.
Our ground crew.
Right.
Right. So you can see that the white hearse and a number of dignitaries' vehicles behind it, right, Stan?
It looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you are joining us, the body of Charlie Kirk and his family, you would imagine, is in one of those two vehicles behind that hearse. Have now left Sky Harbor Airport. They're taking a relatively short drive. They're on Interstate 10 right now, and we believe they are ending up at 7th Street in Peoria, which is probably about maybe a 10, 15 mile drive, something like that, to get up there. And I can't see if the freeway shut down from this vantage point, unfortunately, but I would imagine it's probably about a 10 to 15 minute drive.
Right, and I mean, considering it, you know, they're driving at a relatively decent speed there, that everything has been halted, traffic around it, just to make sure that there are no stops and that everything is secured safely and that they are easily on their way.
So we have Rachel Cole now at the mortuary up at 7th Street in Peoria. Tell us what you're seeing there, Rachel.
Yeah, good evening to you guys. We're just north of Northern Avenue, just north of the canal, in fact, and we've just seen about 6 to 7 Phoenix motorcycle cops, probably the ones you're seeing now, leave the mortuary to go then escort the motorcade. So I know there's been a lot of questions about what sort of procession we'll see for Charlie Kirk as he makes his way over here to 7th Street and what is Las Palmeritas. And just kind of what Sean has been reporting and Bianca reporting from Terminal 4 and Jade there on the ground in the cell phone lot. We're seeing people start to gather here, getting word of where Charlie Kirk is being brought, and they are standing along 7th Street with American flags, with their Trump hats on, with their kids in tow and chairs. In fact, we had someone come out from one of the small businesses in this area and say, is there a parade going on for 9/11? And you would start to think that based on what you're seeing with all the red, white, and blue and the patriots out here to pay their respects. So we will be monitoring the motorcade as it makes its way here to Hanson Mortuary. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Rachel, thank you. We have 1 minute left here, and I want to remind all of our Phoenix television viewers here in the Phoenix TV market. This is a Sky 12 video here of the procession. We are leaving on TV to go to nightly news, but our coverage is not stopping. You can get be on our 12 Plus app, also our website.
Our website, 12news.com.
And then I believe our app as well, the 12 News app, that we will continue to stream our coverage here. But again, about 30 seconds left in our TV coverage. So, here we are, the body of Charlie Kirk.
Making its way to the mortuary. That's where Rachel was at, off of 7th Street. And again, we will continue our live coverage of the casket of Charlie Kirk being coming home to his home state of Arizona here.
All right, so we're leaving you now on TV. We'll see you online and back here on TV at 6 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. All right, we're out now on TV, and we're still streaming, correct? Everything's good? All right. So if you are just joining us here on streaming, it is 5:27 Phoenix time. About an hour ago, Air Force 2 landed at Sky Harbor Airport, which is the Phoenix Metro's main airport here, with the body of Charlie Kirk, his family, and the Vice President.
And as we are giving you a live look here from Sky 12, we can see that motorcade come around the bend here. And clearly you can see the law enforcement has cleared the way for this procession. And it looks like that the white hearse is possibly in the front there. It's kind of hard to see, but obviously making its way from the freeway to the streets and ending up at Hanson Mortuary.
Yeah, and from this angle, and tell me if I'm wrong, it doesn't appear like they have shut down Interstate 10. It looks like there's other traffic on there.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, look at all the cars in front.
Right.
But here, just a quick recap for you. Air Force 2 landed.
Okay. It looks like it's in the far,
it'd be the right lane.
The right lane,
left
but
was
you
we're
can see,
looking
it's
at
almost like the HOV lane, it looks like, right? Where you can see that white hearse there, because now you can see the motorcycles, the law enforcement kind of lead the way, and then now you can't see it because of the building that's right in front, but they'll make their way slowly around the bend here, and then that will be a better view of the hearse with the body of Charlie Kirk making its way to the mortuary, which again isn't too far, but you can see that line of procession right there from Sky 12.
So the plane landed about 4:30. It sat on the tarmac for a few minutes. Then Charlie Kirk's family got off the plane, and we believe somebody else who came with them, about a dozen people, got off the back. Could be coworkers, could be other family members. JD Vance then walked off the plane. We saw a military vehicle, I believe, with a lift on it, pull up, kind of back up to Air Force 2. The lift went up to the height of the plane, which is probably 15, maybe even 20 feet. The planes are so high off the ground. The casket containing Charlie Kirk was then pulled off. It was secured by an honor guard, They then dropped down to the ground. The honor guard walked Charlie Kirk's casket and body into the back of that white hearse you're looking at right now. The door was shut. It appeared there was maybe even a short, maybe 10-minute, maybe 15-minute, I don't want to call it a service, but there was definitely a gathering with a number of people who may have been inside the executive terminal who came out. And that's where we are now. So that was all about 10 minutes ago, and now we're en route.
Right, and I'm looking at the street signs here as they are making their way.
Bethany
it looks
home.
like up to 51.
Yeah.
Do you think that's up to 51? Yeah, because we just saw Bethany home. That's where it kind of bends a little bit and goes, I want to say, up towards Northern. But obviously, they are traveling north on the 51, headed to the mortuary, and you can see that white hearse right in the middle of your screen there. And, you know, quite the procession behind it. You can see the police on their motorcycles, not only just in front, but towards the back too, just kind of slowing down that traffic and really clearing the way. You can see the cars around it too. You know, they're traveling pretty slowly because, again, with all this law enforcement and the procession, you know, it's something where it's a very delicate situation, and they just want to make sure that they're not in the way, obviously, of this procession.
And they're moving over, so it was interesting to watch that. The motors in the back basically blocked traffic so they could all move over at once. And I believe they're probably getting ready to exit here fairly quickly. And then they should be making a left and head, right? They should be heading west. Yeah, they should be heading west, and that would take them to this mortuary in the area. So
and you can see right there, you know, at the top of the screen, all those cars right there. Normally, they would be, you know, getting ready to get on the freeway. But again, in a situation like this where they've got the motorcade, and you can see the motorcycle kind of just stopping the traffic so that nobody gets onto the freeway. That's usually what happens. The exits, the on-ramps, they are all just locked down to make sure that nobody gets in their way.
And you would assume at this point that Charlie Kirk's family is in one of the SUVs following. I think there's at least two of them following behind right now. We don't know when any funeral or memorial service will be held, but we did get the confirmation earlier today that President Trump will be attending, as I'm sure you know, any host of different dignitaries are going to be here, which I'm sure creates another security event.
It does. It does indeed.
So tell me what that, I mean, if you now you're trying to secure, I mean, we don't know where it's going to be. I know that he did worship at that big church in North Phoenix as well. I mean, maybe that's going to be held there.
He would have a separate advance team that would come in from the Secret Service to sanitize the area that he was going to be in. That would have to take place. That's separate from what you're seeing here. And so that would be done in advance of his arrival. And then that area would be secured because the president's going to be there, and they have to install a perimeter around it for the protection of the president.
Yeah, it looks like I was just looking up, you know, exactly where Hanson Mortuary is. That's off of 7th Street. That's north of Northern. So it looks like as they travel up the 51, perhaps they just exited Northern, making a left right here, traveling west. And, you know, again, it's on the west side of 7th Street. That's where Rachel Cole is waiting. She said that a number of supporters have started to gather outside that mortuary waiting for the arrival of that casket.
I think maybe we should get back to Rachel here, at least her voice at this point. Rachel, because they're just a couple of minutes away from you here. So what are you seeing, an uptick in activity?
Actually, yes, we are. We've seen several more vehicles pull up. We're at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift store, so the parking lot continues to fill up with large trucks with flags in the truck beds, and then of course people getting out with folding chairs and American flags to line 7th Street as that motorcade makes its way over here. A couple of people, in fact, had confused it for maybe a 9/11 parade, so you can just imagine the people out here with all of their red, white, and blue feeling, having those heavy hearts. We've also seen a heightened sense of security in terms of Phoenix police that's over here. Again, we saw the motorcycle officers leave to go escort the motorcade, but then you've got patrol officers who are here on the ground at Hanson Mortuary. And in fact, we had one random car not park in the St. Vincent parking lot, for example, but park across the street. Well, Phoenix PD immediately coming over, photographing the license plate and checking on that just to be sure, because as we said, there's a political divide that comes with this tragic story. And so Phoenix police are aware of that, and they're taking every precaution possible to make sure that this is a smooth process. Obviously, everybody making their way to us here at 7th Street and what is Las Palmeritas. So we're just north of Northern Avenue. So when you guys talk about them going northbound on the 51 and exiting, yes, I imagine we'll be seeing them here shortly. So we'll keep tabs on that. But yeah, a growing crowd. We've had a chance to talk to a couple of them, some as young as 9 years old, who, again, don't even know what 9/11 was, considering we're on the 24th anniversary of that, but now another story that their parents intend on sharing with them as they continue to grow up, who Charlie Kirk was and what he meant to their family.
Is that the mortuary behind you, Rachel? Is that the building directly behind you that we're looking at? Or is it in front of you? Where's the mortuary?
I think she has some difficulty hearing us.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I've got you guys now. I'm sorry. You asked about the mortuary.
Yeah, is that it behind you? Is that the building behind you?
Yes, and so just for a little background, very little background, the Hanson Mortuary Chapel has been here in the Valley for 70 years. We weren't able to find any direct ties to the Kirk family or why they may have chosen this one. It's not far from where we were when John McCain passed. Okay, we're seeing the motorcycle officers stop traffic coming southbound on 7th Street. You're seeing that just north of the mortuary, so we might be anticipating them coming. But again, if Akeem can, yeah, he's going to show you guys traffic being stopped over here. And then, of course,
let's
down
keep both
south,
these shots
further
out,
to my south.
so we can watch from the ground.
You're going to see the crowd starting to build. Yeah, and again, we're hearing choppers overhead. I'm not sure if that's Sky 12 trying to get aerial footage for us, but of course we have the ground spot. And then, and then here comes the motorcade. You guys, if you want to take a look, they are coming northbound on 7th Street as they pass La Palmeritas north of Northern Avenue. And you've got someone in the front. You've got Erica, it looks like, just weeping in the passenger seat. Let me get out of the way. What looks to be like Erica in the passenger seat of that white hearse with her hand over her mouth, visibly upset, overwhelmed by the amount of people, I would imagine, lining the streets to pay their respects to her husband, Charlie, who has made it here to his final resting place at Hanson Mortuary as they begin to set services and get things scheduled. I know you guys mentioned the president planning to come in for those services when, we're not sure yet, but the motorcade has arrived here at Hanson Mortuary. And again, 7th Street just lined with red, white, and blue American flags and what looked to be like Erica, Charlie's young wife, in the front seat of that hearse. So we can see also plenty of undercover officers who have been in and around this area for the past 90 minutes, as we have. So they're going to get that escort as well. If we can zoom in, we are on the other side of the street. We wanted to be mindful of Phoenix PD, who is and has been around the area for the last couple of hours.
Well, that really brings it home, doesn't it, that Erica is in the front seat of this hearse with her husband in the back, and they have reached their destination. So I would imagine we're probably going to see that same honor guard again.
Take the casket.
Yeah. So the door of the hearse has just opened up here, and so Charlie Kirk's body has made its way from Sky Harbor Airport up to the mortuary here, and we've been following it for the past About an hour and 10 minutes is about what it took for Air Force 2 to land to get to this point.
Right, and now we see some folks here coming closer to the hearse.
Maybe helping
possibly
Eric out.
helping his wife Erica. This grieving wife, mother.
I wonder if the kids are in there too. I think we just got a flash of people walking in on that top right screen. So again, events that started yesterday morning, Arizona time, with somebody who's still on the loose, which,
Right.
you know, we
The
haven't even
manhunt
talked about
still
that.
continues.
Apparently climbed up on top of a rooftop. Charlie Kirk was having, I think it was the first stop on his fall college tour. And, you know, what he likes to do is, you know, sit in front of people and debate them live. There was a crowd of, it seemed like a couple thousand people. It was a big crowd.
It was a prove me wrong debate at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. That's just north of Provo. And someone had asked a question. He was about ready to answer, and then a single shot hit him. He recoiled and was immediately taken to the hospital, where he later died.
Body brought back here. So what we know about the shooter, they have released pictures of the shooter, which seem fairly clear to me, and I'm surprised nobody, and we don't know yet, to be honest with you, because we haven't heard. We were supposed to have a news conference from law enforcement, but we do know the head of the FBI was moving into that area as well. We may hear from them at any moment. But they found a bolt action 30-06, which, you know, I remember my family, that was like a deer rifle. It was a long range, powerful rifle with the shell they believe was used to kill Charlie Kirk still in the bolt action. And it was dropped in the woods. And so, I mean, that's what we've got. That's what we know.
Right. And
so far.
they also got some prints, not only on that weapon, but also in the area. And right now we are looking at his casket being drawn out of the hearse.
Let's take Rachel's picture if we can. I think that's a better angle. Now, this is not the honor guard. This, I would imagine, is friends or family, or more of a pallbearer.
And we do know that some of his friends were also on Air Force 2, traveling from Utah.
Young. They all look so young.
Yeah. Well, you know, Charlie Kirk being only 31 years old. And again, his reach, it was that young conservative crowd that he impacted so deeply.
He's now inside the mortuary. Doctor, let's talk about that. I mean, so we talk about little kids, but here's a bunch of young adults. These are 30-year-old people now. They've lost a friend, a boss, you know, somebody who they looked up to.
Very much. They lost a leader. They really did. They lost a leader in their community and someone that they aspired to be like. And he really did preach that in his debates. And so we're going to see, I think in the next couple of days, we're going to see some interesting outpouring of support from the young community and also other people who want to continue to keep his legacy going. And that will come out either through podcasts, through social media. So his legacy will continue to live on through the word that he spread to his young viewers.
You know, and I hate to even bring this up at a time like this, but there are people that I've seen on social media, and who knows, everybody's a social media warrior sitting at their keyboard, you know, who are celebrating this, who say they are not happy or sad that this has happened. And, you know, again, we bring it out. Charlie Kirk's brand of politics wasn't for everybody. But what do you think about people who are, you know, celebrating something like this, or if something happens on the other side as well?
So I think we lose humanity when we become desensitized to violence. And I never want to be desensitized to violence. And I want to continue to make sure we have empathy for our enemies. And if that is something that you are opposed to, because that's what makes us human. And so if we lose our empathy, we lose our compassion, we lose our ability to connect. So I think it is very important that we feel what we need to feel. And also, if you don't align with his values, you can back away. You don't have to be a keyboard warrior. Like you said earlier, you can respectfully not engage in the conversations to not have anger and violence and aggression continue to travel on social media.
And you know, what's so troubling is this was the death of an American, right? Bottom line, no matter what side he was on, he was shot because he believed in something and he just wanted to voice his beliefs. And that should bother people.
It should, because freedom of speech is something we all have the right to have. And if that gets taken away, I want my teenagers, I want my children to be able to say and speak what they feel convicted about. And so if we now say and witness violence around freedom of speech, then what?
Right.
Let's talk about, and again, another thing I hate to bring up, but here's Charlie Kirk's body. He could be there for the next, 5 days, a week. Does this also become something that's a security issue here?
Regrettably, yes. I mean, it is a magnet for people who are not well balanced. The doctor would know better than myself about that. To desecrate his memory, to do things to punctuate what we've just discussed. And that is regrettable, but it's a fact of life in this day and age. And the vitriol that we're experiencing, the hate that we're experiencing right now is unprecedented.
What about other families who may have loved ones here? I mean, this is not an exclusive mortuary, so I mean, is this an issue for them?
Absolutely, it would be an issue for me if my family member was there. I mean, I have a right to my privacy, and I have a right to be honored at this time.
And a right to mourn.
Yes, I'm grieving.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and you know, you mentioned the security at the mortuary. I mean, we saw the security at the Turning Point headquarters in Phoenix. That ever since that assassination happened, we have seen Phoenix police, you know, and other security kind of surround that entire area, even though, as we see here, so many supporters reaching out. We haven't heard too much, you know, from the other side trying to, you know, take away this moment of mourning. You see mainly the supporters, but still security has to be out there just to make sure that nothing breaks out.
And I think we do want to get to Sean. Sean Rice is out there for us. Is this a prayer, or what are they doing, Sean?
Yeah, Troy, I'm standing a bit away from the prayer circle as to be as respectful as we possibly can. But over the last couple of minutes, we've seen a large gathering of people form a circle, and they are joining all in somebody's leading them in prayer. As we know, Charlie Kirk was a man of immense Christian faith. That was something that he's publicly said was the most important thing to him, above politics, above anything else, above family. He said his faith was always the most important thing to him. These are very clearly like-minded individuals who have come together here at Turning Point USA's headquarters in Phoenix. It's breaking up at this point, but that was a powerful moment we've seen multiple times here today is people joining in a circle, gathering in prayer in a moment of silence to honor his life. I'll send it back to you.
You know, again, I think what really, you know, strikes me when we see this, whether it was at the airport and whether here, is just the children. So many people wanted to bring their children to capture this moment.
Yes, absolutely, Trim. That's something that I've mentioned a lot today, or tried to, and has struck me the most is the amount of families who have come out here to the Turning Point USA headquarters. It feels as though this has become a community out here. Obviously, his actions in forming this group formed a community in and of itself, but with his death comes, I think, a community out here on location here in Southeast Phoenix. And as you mentioned, people now off work, children out of school. and they want their children to witness this. It feels, and I've talked to some of these families, they want their children to see his face, know the impact he's had on their lives, and raise them, I think, in a way that Charlie Kirk was raising his children when he passed away.
Sean Rice, thank you. Excellent coverage out there, and I want to say a great job to all of our field crews, our reporters, our photographers, our engineers back here in studio, our producers. We are going to leave now. Thank you for joining the streaming show.
And I also want to thank our experts, too.
Thank you.
Dr. Morgan Francis, also Stanley Kephart, you know, almost 40 years in law enforcement, for lending your expertise on the security and also what people are feeling and what they're going through right now, and how to, you know, just digest all of this.
So thank you both for being here, and thank you for watching. We're going to reset. Go ahead and tune back if you're watching us in the Phoenix market. Tune back to TV on 12 News, and we will see you at 6 o'clock. I believe this stream will keep running, though, right? This will keep running, so you can stay here if you want, and if you want to watch us on TV here in Phoenix, you can do that in about 10 minutes. All right, thanks for watching.